Hey everybody, welcome to Dad, Daughters, and Drinks, where you'll always get at least two of those three. Today we're not going to be reacting to a specific artist, but it's more around the concept of VR in live performances. So I've been reacting to a Russian show called TheShowMaskGoOn, and there's been some discussion of them performing in VR, which to me, when I think of VR, means like I'm putting an Oculus headset on and I'm playing a game and I'm fully immersed in some sort of a virtual reality. It seems like when they talk about VR and the show, what they really mean is it's more of a what I think of as an augmented reality or an AR, where you have somebody who you've got a recording of or you got in the camera, but then there's some sort of I don't want to say a fake background, but you've got them with a different background than reality. And so you're superimposing them upon this fake background. And apparently there's something that's kind of a mix between the two, because with an AR, it's just like a flat kind of background that you put the person on. It's almost like a green screen or something. But with this thing that they're calling VR, which somebody in the comments had mentioned, I think might even be called XR. It's almost like a mix between the two, where the person's on this, being recorded, they're on the background, but the background itself is kind of 3D, but you don't need 3D glasses or a headset to experience it in what feels like 3D, the way the camera's rotating and they're in these three-dimensional backgrounds. And it really gives you this impression of being there, in a way that they're 3D, even though you're just seeing them on a screen. That's my best understanding of this. And so I had been reacting to Diana Ankudinova, and some people had talked about, in her comments from the judges, which are also fellow competitors, some people had mentioned VR, and apparently she's got some songs that she does in this contest in VR. They're not all done in VR or XR or whatever you want to call it in the show. And some people had sent me links and said these are good examples of things that look pretty cool with this kind of technology. And so I just picked a couple out from what people had sent me. I don't know who the actual singers are. It's all in Russian, and I haven't translated them, so I'm not exactly sure who's singing or what they're singing, but I'm just more interested in what's actually happening in the visual presentation. Where'd my headphones go? There they are. So let's see what we get on this. So the first one, I don't know what it is, but we shall see. I had to there was a specific time spot right when this started, so I don't know what happens after this. Now, presumably, it's not just a matter of they've got this on the screen behind them, these trees and things, but it's done in a way that it seems a lot more three-dimensional.
Между мною и тобою гул небытия, звездные моря, тайные моря. Как тебе сейчас живется, вешняя моя, нежная моя, странная моя. Если хочешь, если можешь, вспомни обо мне, вспомни обо мне, вспомни обо мне. Хоть случайно, хоть однажды, вспомни обо мне. Долгая любовь моя, а между мною и тобой.
Now, I don't know if he's it really does look like he's standing on a stage with a bunch of trees around him and these butterflies starting to fly around. And if in reality he's just standing on a stage, like a normal stage, and they've superimposed him in this way that it looks three-dimensional, that's pretty outstanding. I mean, the singing is obviously great. I have no idea what he's singing about, but I'm really enjoying the music, but like I said, this is more around the production that's happening. Really cool.
Ой, века, мгновенья и года, сны и облака. Я им к тебе сейчас лететь велю, ведь я тебя еще сильнее люблю.
So if you're not familiar with what I've done before or her, this is Diana Ankudinova. Yeah, I had a few drinks. Diana Ankudinova.
Я к тебе приду на помощь, только позови, просто позови, тихо позови. Пусть с тобой все время будет свет моей любви, зов моей любви.
These trees look out like incredibly real. So if he's like actually on something totally blank and they've put these trees around him, that's unbelievable.
Боль моей любви, только ты останься прежней, трепетно живи, солнечно живи, радостно живи. Что бы ни случилось, ты, пожалуйста, живи, счастливо живи всегда. А между мною и тобой века, мгновенья и года, сны.
All right, so this seems to indicate that what they were showing with him before was completely generated, right? Obviously, they've taken him away from whatever background he was in and put him in some sort of a planetary landscape. So either they're able to remove all of those trees and they're really there, or this whole thing has just been, and that's the whole point of the video, right? That they've done something really amazing. So I assume he's just been on some sort of a stage with nothing else going on, and they've really been able to superimpose him in this VR, AR, XR, whatever you want to call it, technology, to make it seem like he's in these different places.
Облака, я им к тебе сейчас лететь велю, ведь я тебя еще сильнее люблю. Пусть с тобой все время будет свет моей любви, зов моей любви, боль моей любви. Что бы ни случилось, ты, пожалуйста, живи, счастливо живи всегда.
I mean, that looks pretty good, right? It kind of looks like he's standing there on whatever this planet is or whatever. That's well done.
Счастливо живи.
And I don't mean to like negate the quality of his singing and everything that's going on, in that sense. What he's doing is fantastic, but I'm trying not to focus on what he's singing and the quality of his voice and all of these other things. I really am trying to just focus on the VR itself. So this is what it looks like, huh? Wow. So that's really fascinating that's what it looked like when he was, I guess, to the people in the audience. It's interesting. I don't know if the people in the audience were seeing this stage and the backdrop behind him transformed in a way that it seemed VR, or if they were seeing him taken from the stage on a different screen and all of those things mixed together. That's really kind of fascinating. I wonder what they were actually seeing. There's a second video that I'm going to pull up. Give me just a second because I have to go through and do like, can't use normal kind of YouTube stuff when you're doing these things. There we go. I'll have to pause real quick. And again, I don't know who this is singing or what they're singing or anything. Let me back up because I thought I paused it, but I didn't. Presumably, it's one of the singers who was just in the kind of judge panel. I think there's 9 of them, and in each week, one of the people they all sing. Everybody who's still in it. I think there's like each week there's kind of a, somebody's removed, if I understand correctly. But everybody who's still there, they all kind of judge each other as opposed to having like, Simon Cowell judge the singers. It's all the singers judging the singers, which makes it seem a lot more fair to me. And so here we see, I think, somebody standing on this hand. So I think it's already starting. Now this is, I don't know what this is saying, but I'm recognizing the word human. So I don't know if that's the name of the song is Human. And it was originally in English, and maybe that's why it's written out that way. But I don't know what the other things are saying.
Maybe I'm foolish, maybe I'm blind, thinking I can see through these, see what's behind. Got no way to prove these, so maybe I'm blind. But I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put your blame on me.
All right, so I recognize her. I mean, obviously that's Diana. And her, she's the one, back in the first Diana reaction I did, she was the first person who, when Diana started singing, and I think it was the first time in the contest Diana had started singing, she just made this like overwhelmed face, like, I can't believe what I'm hearing right now. So it's, this is the first time I think I've seen a judge singing who I remember what their reactions were to another singer.
I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put your blame on me.
And similar to Diana, not that the singing is similar, but she has a deeper voice than I would expect her to be singing with.
Don't put your blame on me. Take a look at the mirror. What do you see? Do you see it clearer? Are you deceived? And won't you believe? I'm only human after all. You're only human after all.
So this is an interesting effect. The whole time she's been standing in this hand, I feel like there's something about this shot where you can tell that she's being superimposed on some kind of a background. I mean, it's really fantastic, but there's just something about it. I don't know if it's the lack of shadow on the ground or what it is, but I would look at this and in a couple seconds say, yeah, that's somebody who's being superimposed on some sort of a background, as opposed to the last song where when he was standing kind of in front of those trees and things, it really looked to me like he was standing in front of those trees. In fact, I kind of almost speculated that that was what was actually happening on the stage, and it was only a few of the other things that were different. And then all of a sudden at the end, you saw that he was just all by himself. And so everything else was completely, generated. In this spot, it seems a little more obvious that she's being, she's in a generated background. Oh, of course, she's standing on a giant hand. Obviously, it's probably, not true. But
Don't put your blame on me. You're only human after all. Don't put your blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. Some people got the real problems. Some people don't know.
sometimes you get these people who have these tiny little frames, and you would think very small lungs, and they can just come up with some really powerful singing. And I always find that very, very, very interesting. And this seems like that's the case here. Well, I didn't mean to hear that. Actually, I want to stop right here. So this kind of like uh, thing that she's wearing, like with the thing on the head, the forehead, and all that, is that representative of something specific, or is that just a style choice that she's doing? Like, I don't know if this is something to a specific, culture of, native, uh, people, or something that they have that kind of a mark on their forehead, and this is the kind of clothes that they wear, or is it, like, again, maybe it's just a stylistic choice. Wow, that's great singing. Similar to what I was saying before about, people with small frames really being able to belt it out. There's a certain growl sound that singers can make that I, sometimes it's unexpected. Uh, she's almost got this like Ivy Levon kind of throaty growl going on in some of the notes. At least that's what it reminds me of, anyway. Huh. Well, I guess this video cut it off. I mean, presumably I heard everything I needed to hear, and like I said, it was really more about these two videos. There's just the two of them, about the VR aspect of it. And like I said, you might look at it as AR or XR, um, but either way, it was a really cool way of taking a person and really making them seem like they were part of a background that they weren't a part of, right? And it was a lot more than just um, taking somebody and putting them in front of a green screen. Um, it really, especially when you've got like cameras panning around, that stresses the fact that what you're seeing isn't just a two-dimensional thing with a green screen behind it or something. So that was really kind of awesome. I'm a big fan of VR. I've had, an Oculus Quest headset, first generation, second generation. I'm probably about to get a third generation. I really love getting, immersed in the, virtual realities and playing games and doing things where I feel like I'm really in other places. But the idea of that kind of a thing happening when you're not wearing any kind of a headset is really, truly amazing. I think eventually there's going to have to be a meeting, like you have different technologies that are doing things in different ways, and ultimately they're going to have to come together, right? Because when you've got the virtual reality headset on, obviously there's certain limitations with that. When you're doing these kind of presentations on this show, like there's they can control what's happening on the stage, but once you step outside of that, you lose control of that. And so at some point there's going to have to be a meeting of those where you have the headset or something similar, right? Lately there's this new Apple kind of, it's not exactly like an Oculus Quest headset, but it's some sort of a headset that allows you to do augmented reality, and so you can see people and do things while you've got this, mask on, uh, play games and do all sorts of things with this augmented reality. And so there's always going to be, I think, some sort of a necessity for the person who's doing the viewing to have something on their, face. And then presumably if you can really get the external part to have something that interacts with that, you can really do all kinds of interesting augmented reality things between, what's actually happening outside of the mask and inside of the mask. How that's going to land, I have no idea. But every year it seems to get more and more kind of cool and interesting. And so I don't think we've seen by any stretch of the imagination where this technology is going to go. Back in the old days, it was like computers were getting faster and faster and faster every year, and graphics cards all of a sudden kind of took over and, became more and more amazing. I mean, there's that famous quote of Bill Gates from back in the days, right? He, Microsoft guy. And he said, no computer will ever need more than 64K of RAM or whatever it was, right? And now there's, computers are needing terabytes, you know, billions times more RAM than he thought they would just to do things like every second. I mean, it's amazing the progression that you've made, but at some point you've kind of like for certain types of technology, you've almost hit the limit. And so then you have to find other ways to kind of expand it out. And so it almost feels like when it comes down to graphic quality, graphic cards these days are making like picture perfect HD quality, renderings. It's just amazing, right? And so then it all of a sudden doesn't become about how, you know, real life can these headsets and computer graphics cards make these images. It becomes how fast can they make it into a live action, kind of a movie around you and make you part of the movie, and all of a sudden make games that are surrounding you and doing things in real time. And so all of a sudden it becomes really about bringing all of your, external influences and things into the game itself, into your headset itself. It's really fascinating stuff. I'm starting to realize I'm rambling quite a bit, because this was really just about using VR technology in these TV shows. But it's something that I'm pretty passionate about. Like I said, I've been playing it for a long time, and you go back to the old days. I was playing Minecraft, in these, Oculus headsets, and you got these big grainy people. And next thing you know, I'm playing Resident Evil 4 in the headset, and things are starting to look a little better. And I'm, cocking shotguns and doing all kinds of interesting things. And over time, every time that I turn it on and I play something, it's looking a little bit more real. And so at some point, when does reality, especially if, things are in my headset when I'm playing games, they're real, but they're obviously fake, right? Now, if I start doing real things and I have fake things that are being incorporated with my real stuff, it starts to get to be a little bit of a blurred line. If I'm putting a headset on and it seems like I'm looking at everything else, and all of a sudden I start seeing a frog hop across the screen, and who knows what it is. Um, Really kind of interesting. At some point, you might start to lose a little bit of track between what's VR and what's reality until you take the headset off. Um, anyway, that's it for me. This has been a long enough of a ramble. I hope everybody's doing okay. If you made it this long, man, appreciate it. Thank you. Hope you're doing well, and I will see you again on the next one. Take care.